Pakistan's parliament has approved a constitutional amendment Wednesday to expand the powers of the country's army chief and curb the remit of the Supreme Court. This is a move that critics say hugely sets back Pakistani democracy, if at all there was any hint of democracy in that country in the first place. The amendment, it's called the 27th Amendment, has now been signed off by the President of Pakistan. It now is officially law in the Pakistani constitution. Also under the changes, all constitutional cases will now be taken away from the Supreme Court of Pakistan, and instead it will go to a new federal constitutional court. Also, they've recognized Field Marshal Asim Munir rank and his constitutionality. Rather than a mere executive decision, the amendment now gives Asim Munir legal standing, which means none of the decisions that he takes can be challenged in a court of law. And if at all it is, then it is going to be a military court. It is not going to be the Supreme Court. So he's been given permanence beyond the usual retirement horizon. There is going to be no judicial scrutiny. There's going to be no institutional scrutiny. This 27th Amendment is basically seen as reinforcing lifelong immunity for the top military office.
What sets Asim Munir's career apart is his rapid trajectory through intelligence commands. He served as Director General of Military Intelligence in early 2017, then as Director General of the ISI from October 2018 to June 2019. These appointments gave him exposure to both internal security operations and geopolitical intelligence, building a reputation as a spy master general. On 24th November 2022, the Pakistan government appointed him as Chief of Army Staff, superseding other senior officers. That month itself, the term length for service for military chiefs was extended from 3 to 5 years, cementing Munir's expected stay until 2027. On 20th May 2025, after Pakistan's terror and military bases were leveled by India in Operation Sindoor, Munir was promoted to the rank of Field Marshal, only the second person in Pakistan's history to attain that rank. These moves were widely interpreted as not merely ceremonial, but as signals of deeper institutional change, positioning Munir at the very apex of Pakistan's military security architecture. As Pakistan faces a more aggressive and decisive India that is maintaining the red lines over cross-border terror, Munir has politically emerged as a national security guarantor and decision maker, which has further elevated his standing in Pakistan's power structure. Asim Munir has come to exert an unusually broad and consequential influence on Pakistan's foreign policy, effectively transforming the country's external posture under his leadership. Munir's reach has extended beyond purely military matters into diplomacy, strategy, and geoeconomics, a phenomenon sometimes described as the Munir Doctrine. From his direct dealings with Trump, NATO, and Arab powers in defense, economics, and strategic affairs, walking a mile ahead of Shehbaz Sharif, both in optics and tangibles, he has effectively nullified the office of the Prime Minister of Pakistan. At the heart of this shift is his insistence that Pakistan should no longer be locked into a binary agreement between the United States and China. By elevating military leadership into the diplomatic sphere and emphasizing geoeconomics as a strategic tool, he advocates that Pakistan should play the role of a middle power in South Asia rather than merely a frontline ally in other rivalries. Pakistan is confronting a complex and deteriorating internal security environment marked by violent protests, terror attacks, and cross-border skirmishes. One significant dimension is the resurgence of the hardline Islamist group, the Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan. The TLP turned violent in October when its supporters clashed with security forces during a march towards Islamabad, resulting in casualties, prompting the federal government to outlaw the party under anti-terror legislation. A second flashpoint was a suicide bombing outside a district court complex in Islamabad, in which at least 12 people were killed and around 27 were injured, the deadliest attack in the capital in nearly a decade. The government attributed it to militants based in neighboring Afghanistan involving the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. Thirdly, along the long rugged Durand line, the de facto border between Pakistan and Afghanistan, both forces have engaged in intense skirmishes in recent months. Pakistan accuses Kabul of harboring TTP militants, while Afghan forces say they are responding to Pakistani violations of their sovereignty. Taken together, these dynamics point to a nation under multi-front pressure, all of which challenge the Pakistani state's capacity to maintain stability and the rule of law, a prime challenge for Asim Munir.
The 27th Amendment significantly benefits General Asim Munir by concentrating unprecedented military and legal power in his possession, effectively placing the armed forces and other state institutions under his authority. Now, key benefits for Asim Munir resulting from the 27th Amendment includes creation of a super post. The amendment creates a new paramount position of Chief of Defense Forces (CDF), which Munir will hold concurrently with his role as Chief of Army Staff. This new role grants him command and control over all the three branches of the armed forces: the Army, Navy, and the Air Force. Lifetime rank and privileges. Now, Munir has been elevated to the five-star rank of Field Marshal. The amendment constitutionalizes this rank, granting him lifetime tenure, privileges, salary, and permanent uniform status. A controversial clause in the amendment grants lifelong immunity from most legal proceedings to officers holding five-star ranks, similar to the immunity enjoyed by the President under Article 248. The amendment establishes a commander of the National Strategic Command responsible for overseeing Pakistan's atomic arsenal. This commander is appointed by the Prime Minister on the Army Chief's recommendation and must be an Army officer, cementing Munir and the Army's control over the nuclear program. The amendment creates a new federal constitutional court to handle constitutional matters and fundamental rights cases, stripping the Supreme Court of much of its powers. The 27th Amendment formalizes the military's long-standing influence in Pakistani politics, institutionalizing Asim Munir's authority within the constitutional framework and making it difficult for future civilian governments to reverse this power shift.